Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Today I'm in the county of Somerset and this is the first visit on the channel to the delightful and not much discovered Quantock Hills. I'm not far from the town of Bishop's Lydeard, which of course lies on the West Somerset Railway, somewhere we've been previously here on the channel. Today we're going to walk from this car park and insert the map, so show you where we are now. We're not far from a village called West Bagborough and we're going to walk to the highest point on the Quantock Hills, which is called Will's Neck. I think it's around about 394 metres and we're going to have a circular walk around and I'll show you the route and we'll see what we can see of the views. But it's a beautiful spring day here, mid-April day, not a cloud in the sky, a little bit breezy but not too much so. So I hope you can join me here on West Country Wanderings in the Quantock Hills. So before I set off, just to explain a little more detail where the Quantock Hills are. They lie between the Vale of Taunton Dean and the Blackdown Hills, which is kind of Taunton, Wellington and west of there. And we're east of that. In fact, there are another range of hills called the Brendan Hills, which almost run parallel to the Quantock Hills. And then if you keep going in a westerly direction, you'll end up in Exmoor or on Exmoor somewhere we haven't really discovered yet on the channel, but we will at some future point, I'm sure. We're also close to the county town of Somerset, which is Taunton, of course. We're not far from that. We're also not that far from the resort of Minehead too, so it's fairly easy to get to from the M5. A little bit more tricky from coming from a public transport connections. You can get trains to Taunton station, but the buses here are a little bit limited. You can get a bus to Bishop's Lydeard and you can walk up the Quantock Hills to another viewpoint not far from here called Cothelstone Hill, and my fellow YouTuber Louise from Southwestern Days did a video about that not too long ago where she saw some Exmoor ponies on the top of Cothelstone Hills. But today, as I say, we're going to head over to Will's Neck. Now, a lot of the land hereabouts is owned by the Cothelstone estate, but there are lots of waymarked tracks. I think part of it has got to do with the Millen Way. There's some other named waymarked routes as well, but we're going to follow the ridge out of the car park. It is a free car park, but you can do donations, which would be great because obviously they have the costs of just maintaining the car park. Just word of warning, the road that comes up from West Bagborough is a little bit rough. There are some potholes, so they have been marked with red paint, but they are quite sharp, so slow down for those. But if you go at very slow speed, you'll be fine. And you can come out the, say, car park here, and you've got seats here with beautiful views too. So once we leave the car park, we're straight on to Lydia Hill, hence the name Bishop's Lydeard. I think there was a small palace in the village that's at the foothills of this here. It's an AONB, an area of outstanding natural beauty similar to Exmoor and Dartmoor, Cothelstone Hills of course, all those other ranges that I've come across on the channel in the future as ones we have yet to explore for the first time too. Just reading the notice board there are really interesting wildlife here. Place for adders and grass snakes, also lizards. I'll keep my eye out for those. Be really lucky if we see them, but if we do, you'll see it here. And also they carry out something called swaling, and they've been doing that for generations here. In the winter months they do actually set fire to the gorse, although that sounds rather alarming. It does keep it in check, because if it goes too wild it means it does affect the rest of the nature and it reduces the amount of biodiversity and things that are able to grow, like wildflowers. Speaking of wildflowers, this is also a good place for different types of heather. I think there's 3 types here. I'll put that notice board back up so you can see what those 3 types are. Again, if we come across that, I'll show you as well. We have the gorse here right out in flower too. Beautiful yellow flowers. Really good to see on this wonderful spring morning. Now this land around here is oranged edge, so like I showed you with the bit at the start there, though that one side of the hill there, Lydia Hill, is private, the rest of it you have a right to roam all over it. Just seen some Exmoor ponies there, but don't want to get too close to ponies there, give them some space, but they are lovely to see here too. Now the peak, or the summit of Lydia Hill, lies somewhere over there. I think it's about 324 metres. You can walk up to it. There is a tumulus not far from there, so perhaps an Iron Age fortification. But a bit further just off this track as we're heading towards Will's Neck is a cairn. So as we get close to that, I'll see if I can look at the ice map and make a diversion to see what we can see of that. It goes downhill slightly before we make the ascent to the highest point in the Quantock Hills, which I'm really looking forward to seeing here. Now between the trees there is West Bagborough, but to get to the car park you just follow the signs towards the pub, which I think was open when I passed it earlier this morning. And yeah, you can stop there and have a drink, and then to get to the car park you just keep going, and then you come to a little crossroads, the name of which escapes me, but you won't be able to miss it, that's for sure. And then you turn left there, and about a quarter mile you'll find the car park. As I've made my way further around now, the Vale of Taunton Dean is then spreading out in front of me, and beyond that is the Blackdown Hills, which is what you would cross if you're going from, say, the Taunton direction down to the Dorset coast, or even making your way on the old A30 towards London. Now that's an interesting view. If you watch my channel regularly, you can make out, it's a little bit hazy, but Breen Down and the sand of Breen, which is where we were the other day. And it's the edge of Weston-super-Mare there, of course. And the cranes a bit closer to the camera are at the nuclear power station site at Hinkley Point. And this here is near the summit of Lydia Hill, about 358 metres above sea level, and the hill we're going to is about another 40 metres above that. So now you get a sense of just how wild it is with Moorland here on the top of Lydia Hill. Now our cairn isn't a great deal to see, but it's hidden in the gorse there. Just have a quick look, and there it is. It's clearly a circle made out there, possibly an Iron Age or Bronze Age burial ground. Now this moorland is very reminiscent to me of both Bodmin Moor and Dartmoor, places I've visited many times when I used to live in South Devon and Cornwall. As I say, it's my first visit here to the Quantock Hills, but it has a very similar feel to those places a little further to the south and west of here. So now we're in Middle Hill, we've left Lydia Hill. Still delightful conditions, it's getting breezier. I guess because we're gaining height And we're working our way towards the highest point on the Quantocks, so I think it's going to be a little bit like it was bringing down the other day, but hopefully without that icy rain. But no, I think it'll be fine. It's a lot brighter than it was then. There's no clouds looming on the horizon. So I hope you join this walk here at Quantock Hills, here on West Country Wanderings. Now this here is an absolutely delightful spot. You feel like you've gone back into ancient times. There are no settlements, dwelling places or farm buildings here. Indeed, no cars, no noise and no aircraft overhead at the moment as on time of filming. Just got this beautiful bit of water, stretch of water in a depression here. Not sure what this was for. Perhaps it was dug out to provide water for cattle as we've seen previously on Bodmin Moor. But yes, on a sunny day, this is really a tremendous delight. So now left that delightful little lake back there. We're now at 357 metres. There's a path that splits off that way heading back down the hill, and we're still on the Millen Way West heading up to the top of Will's Neck, which I think is about 397. Now on the way there's another cairn, and as well as the cairn it says something about a fire pit. Now I'm not sure exactly know what that is, but I'm guessing it's some kind of hollow in the ground where they once built bonfires to alert people. I know there used to be a chain of them. Was it to tell people about the start of, was it Battle of Waterloo? I think I've got that right. I'll check that and put that in the usual way. And though they have also been, famously in 1977 they did a load of them to celebrate the late Queen's Silver Jubilee too. And they've been used on other occasions since. But yeah, we'll see what we can see. This one here at Will's Neck on the Quantock Hills. And like the summit of the Malverns at Worcestershire, Beacon in Worcestershire of course, there is no one here. Last time I was up there on the Malverns, there was a queue of people waiting to have their selfies taken by the top of the beacon. You can understand its popularity because the view there is stunning, but it's also equally as stunning here, as I'll show you in a bit. I can see the, look, I think it's a trick point in front of me, so only about 2 minutes walk and we'll be at the highest point in the Quantocks, but I do have this place here to myself, which is fantastic. So this is it. This is the highest point on the Quantock Hills. It doesn't feel like I've climbed. Well, I haven't really, because I've cheated, because that car park is about 297, I think. So I've only climbed about 100 metres or so. But we will have some climbing to do, because what I'm making to do now is going to make my way down into the lee of the hill and walk through West Bagborough and then climb back up to the car park again. So I will be doing some climbing because that road's quite steep on the way up. Interestingly, this trig point also says it's now part of the Ordnance Survey GPS network. I'm not quite sure how they work. They obviously use this as a reference point to their satellites, which are satellite tracking the Earth and mapping it, doing active mapping all the time. But yeah, so it obviously says an offence to vandalise it. Thankfully, it hasn't been vandalised, so that's good. And it's the marker point for the top here at Will's Neck on the Quantock Hills. So yes, back down there again is the Hinkley Point nuclear power station, all those enormous cranes, and also I think an oil rig out there which is possibly under construction. I don't know, does anybody know about that? There is a pier off there which, when I did my Lil Stock Beach one back at the end of last year, discovered that had been built to aid construction. Sorry, it is a bit windy here. And just beyond that is Flatholm. And that over there is the way we came. You can make out the path heading back towards Middle Hill, and beyond that back towards Lydia Hill. And the large town down there, I believe, is Bridgewater. You can make out some white sheds. They line the M5 near whatever junction number that is. I can't remember. Is it 25, 24? Not sure. Around Bridgewater area. And I think that there possibly is a red kite just in the air. Wow. Now if you see the OS triangulation point there, stroke GPS marker, to the right of that, so it's in the middle to just around about where that shrub is in the background, there is an indentation. That is the fire signal pit. And as I say, if I can find any more information about that, I'll put that in the usual bay below. But yeah, interesting. I've not seen that before. I've seen those little beacons, fire beacons. They're like wooden stakes with like baskets, but you couldn't really put that up here because it's just too windy to have that. It would blow over in a gale. I mean, it's a calm day today-ish, nice weather, but it's still a very exposed site here away from the Bristol Channel. But that's why it would have to be in a pit, because if you tried to start the fire in a basket high up, it would blow out as well. So it gives you a little bit of shelter to start kindling some wood to get it alight. We're going to make our way with the trig point to our right, down this footpath along here, down to the little hamlet called Triscombe. There is a quarry there near there as well, so maybe we'll be able to see that on our descent. Now, like my guidebook that I bought on the Quantocks, I'll show you that at the end of today's video. I picked it up for £2, second-hand bookshop, tell you about that. It does say in the guidebook here that coming down here is the nearest sensation you'll get to flying a plane, and I can't disagree with that, especially on a day like today. Wow, that is just an incredible view. Now the large building down there is actually Trinscombe House. You can see the trees that surround it there. And I'll see if I can find a date that was built, but that is private. It has a stable block there too. And that's the view looking back up the hill again. Yes, it's coming down very steep. I'm glad I didn't come up this way to Wills Neck. That would be a very, very steep and sudden climb, wouldn't it? Now I am savouring the descent here because these views are just extraordinary, especially on a day like today. And this is my introduction to the Quantocks, and I have to say I am very, very impressed with these set of hills. Beautiful walking country. It's not really, really steep. We're not talking Snowdonia or the Pennines, but they're steep enough to give you stunning and spectacular views. Don't get me wrong, I have been enjoying the walk, but this final section coming down into the Little Hamlet is very, very steep. And I really emphasise that. What I had to do is crawl backwards on my hands and legs, because obviously I've got a tripod, rucksack and camera equipment I'm carrying, doing pieces to camera, and the risk of slipping can be down there. If you're trying to walk down there upright is quite high, and I don't want a twisted ankle or worse, so I was crawling down and taking my time. Suggest you have really stout footwear if you come on the Quantock Hills, and also take your time, particularly on the descents, which can be a lot trickier than the ascents. So I'm now walking on the lower slopes of Bagborough Hill. Beautiful views out to my right, your left. Absolutely stunning views on this stunning spring day. We have a lovely wooded section here too at the moment. Very quiet. Since I was at the top at Lydia Hill, I haven't seen one solitary other human being at all. So I've just passed Rock Farm. I get the sense this is horse breeding country here. Lots of horses in the fields. A bit further away from where I am, but I didn't want to film it, but they've got some very nice stables there. But yeah, beautiful place here. We've got some of that oilseed rape making a yellow dash across the landscape too. Beautiful bird song all around here, absolutely lovely spot. Just been enjoying that. I'm going to head over towards the village of West Bagborough. I'm going to stop there, and I think it's then just about a 30-minute walk back to the car park where I'll close today's video off. So I'm now just on the edge of West Bagborough parish. Lovely 3 seats here. It's the first seats I've seen with more than 3/4 of the way of the walk, and I was really glad of a rest just to sit down and have something, water and a banana to eat to refresh me. Got fantastic views out that way. Here it looks like it remains what was a market garden. Looks like probably a lean-to, large brick wall. Perhaps there was a glass panel over it at one time for growing fruits and vegetables, alas no more. The church is just down over that way, so we'll have a look at that in a bit. But yeah, fantastic walking country here in the Quantocks. It's really, really good for another reason. The footpaths of good quality. Also, all of the gates work. And you've got really good markers, so we're on the Quantock Greenway and all the gates open and close really easily. We don't see that very often here on West Country Wandering, so an absolute pleasure here today. Well, that was quite some walk. Before I go, that's the book I was talking about earlier. It's called Portrait of the Quantocks. Almost certainly it's out of print. It was published by Hale. I think this copy was first edition was 1969, reprinted by in 1972, ages ago, by a gentleman called Vincent Waite. I'll put the description of the book because it's a very, very good guide to the Quantock Hills, and if you see one in a second-hand bookshop, it's well worth picking up. Well, that was my very, very first visit here to the Quantock Hills. I've absolutely loved it. It's been such an enjoyable experience. Really, really enjoyed it. We'll certainly be back here in this corner of Somerset to do another walk in this area. You also have the Brendan Hills, and we haven't actually yet done a proper video about Exmoor either. So I look forward to doing that and then sharing that with you here on West Country Wanderings. Been a beautiful day here to do today as well. What I'll also do today, so there's a car going over the cattle grid there, what I'll also do today is put a link of the OS map app for the route that I created for today's walks. If you want to do the same walk that I did, you just click on that link and you'll be able to follow that on your own mobile phone too. Until next time on West Country Wanderings, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I hope to see you on the channel again very, very soon. All the best for now. Cheers now. Goodbye.